There's a peace that imprisons, a silence that, instead of nourishing the soul, suffocates it. Have you ever felt the weight of this forced quietude, of this conformity that crushes your true self? This is the amnesty of conformity. In this deep dive into spirituality and personal development, we will unveil the traps of superficial peace, question illusory certainties, and find the strength for true spiritual awakening and the awakening of consciousness. Prepare for a journey that honors doubt, restlessness, and the courage to be who you truly are. In a world that cries out for uniformity, the soul yearns for authenticity. We will delve into the complexity of conformity, recognizing the pain that sprouts when we abdicate our own voice to follow the chorus of others. It is the search for acceptance that, paradoxically, imprisons us in an invisible cell, robbing us of spiritual clarity and emotional balance. As a mage, I invite you to explore the deepest layers of this experience, to unveil the hidden price of superficial peace, and to recognize the invitations that life offers us for inner transformation. The forced quietude, the silence of the self filled by the echo of others' voices. This is the pain of emptiness that plagues the soul when the search for acceptance turns into an invisible prison. It is the voluntary servitude that Etienne de la Boétie so lucidly described, transposed to the intimate scenario of being, where the renunciation of discernment becomes a veil over one's own truth. Let's imagine a clear lake, its surface covered by a dense fog. The stillness of the fog can be mistaken for depth, but it is, in fact, stagnation, preventing the view of the bottom, of the essence. The apparent peace of those who do not question is, at bottom, a silent war against authenticity, generating a soul fatigue that the rational mind, trapped in its own conditioning, can barely comprehend. Your body listens to everything your soul whispers. How can we aspire to personal development if we anesthetize ourselves in the face of what bothers us? The habit of avoiding confrontation with external absurdity, with social inconsistencies, is reflected in the inability to face one's own shadows, perpetuating cycles of unconscious suffering. The soul, in its silent wisdom, yearns for more, for a reconnection that only detachment from conventions can offer. The anguish of perceiving the world's incongruities, and even more painfully, one's own role in perpetuating them, is the prelude to a crisis of identity and belonging. At this point, the awakening of consciousness becomes unsettling, as lived truth clashes with imposed truth, just as ancient Buddhist masters taught about the illusory nature of reality. For the Stoic Marcus Aurelius, virtue lies in living in accordance with nature, even if that means going against the current. The madness of questioning, of daring to look beyond appearances, is the true path to inner sanity. While blind conviction imprisons the soul in collective delusions, discernment, that subtle flame of inner listening, is the portal to authentic wisdom. Think of an eggshell cracking. It's a painful process, but necessary for the life within to emerge and manifest in its fullness. You are not broken. You are transforming. Every micro-decision in daily life, every choice that honors intuition over norm, forges integrity and strengthens real presence in the face of absurdity. It is an invitation to freedom, a step forward in your spiritual awakening. The incessant search for external answers to an emptiness that can only be filled by recognizing one's own silence is one of the great traps of the modern age. We flee from the depth that quietude reveals, fearing what the living soul might whisper to us. The Taoist non-doing, so advocated by Lao Tzu, is not inactivity, but the cessation of automatic reactivity that feeds chaos. It is the most potent action in a noisy world. True obedience is to the inner voice, not to external dictates. Here, silence becomes the most powerful tool against the world's madness, a form of profound reconnection. Imagine a mirror fogged by breath. It only reveals a clear image when the breath calms, allowing a clear view of what truly is. Silence is not absence. It is presence without noise. Contemplative exercises, such as observing the breath or simply a conscious pause, allow us to dissolve the mental and emotional noise that prevents us from perceiving the subtle absurdity of everyday life and reacting with lucidity. It is in this fertile void that silent wisdom emerges, guiding us on our inner path. In our journey of spirituality and self-knowledge, the unconscious desire for validation and belonging can lead us to adhere to dogmas and spiritual clichés. It's a subtle trap, where the fear of confronting one's own truth disguises itself as holiness. Gurdjieff, in his teachings, advocated radical sincerity as the starting point for any genuine awakening, contrasting it with blind faith that generates alienation. The conviction of a saint can be, ironically, the biggest trap of the spiritualized ego, where the rigidity of beliefs prevents the true expansion of perception and emotional healing. Think of a golden mask. However brilliant it may be, it hides the true face, preventing authentic breathing and genuine connection. Subtle signs, such as the inability to accept criticism or the constant need to prove one's light, reveal that the ego is using spirituality as a shield. Humility and self-criticism are fundamental for spiritual and relational maturity, so that your spiritual truth is genuine and not a performance. All healing begins with the acceptance of what hurts. The fear of doubting established truths is a paralysis that prevents personal development and the awakening of consciousness. This results in the suppression of intuition and critical capacity, leading to paralyzing conformity. Socrates, with his method of questioning, revealed that doubt is the essential tool for unveiling ignorance, even when it is disguised as apparent wisdom. For him, not knowing was the starting point for knowledge. The madness of questioning is, in fact, the highest degree of sanity, because it is through doubt that one breaks free from collective illusions and accesses lucidity. A chain, no matter how strong it seems, can have a rusted link. It is the meticulous inspection of each link that reveals hidden vulnerability. Cultivating an active and investigative, not-knowing posture in daily life means transforming every experience into an opportunity for learning and expanding consciousness. It is the courage to be a questioner in a world of illusory certainties, seeking wisdom beyond the obvious. The dilemma between the need to belong and the urgency to be authentic generates internal and relational conflicts, especially when inner truth clashes with external expectations. The ethic of the nonconformist is the stoic virtue of acting according to reason and nature, even if that means going against the current of the world. Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius teach us that freedom resides in our capacity to choose the inner response to circumstances. Obedience to one's own conscience, even if it seems madness in the eyes of the world, is the foundation of true ethics and human flourishing. A tree that, even growing in hostile terrain, roots deeply, seeking water within itself to sustain and flourish. This is the metaphor of integrity. The ethical stance, care for your vibrational frequency, and maturity in human relationships are a direct reflection of questioning the absurd and affirming inner truth. It is the reconnection with your highest purpose, with your soul. The disillusionment with society's superficial promises, and even with an empty spirituality, can generate a deep sense of void. However, if embraced gently in the present moment, this void can be a portal. The Buddhist emptiness. This understanding that the absence of something fixed and permanent is not a loss, but the condition for freedom and fullness, resonates here. The absurdity of the world, when fully faced and not avoided, can be the catalyst that pushes us towards reconnection with the essential self, beyond illusions. A cracked vase that, instead of being discarded, is filled with liquid gold in its fissures, revealing a unique beauty and unexpected strength. This is the metaphor of essential emptiness. The practice of real presence can transform the feeling of emptiness into a space of pure potentiality, revealing forgotten truths and yet unaccessed potentials. It is the inner path that leads us to silent wisdom and true inner transformation. We walk through the mists of conformity and the fissures of emptiness, and with each step, the soul reveals itself more fully. The awakening of consciousness is not an arrival, but a constant flow, a dance with impermanence and the courage to be who you are, even when the world seems to resist. We remember that true peace does not reside in the absence of questions, but in the strength to face one's own truth, to allow doubt to become a portal to wisdom. What if the pain that confuses you today is, in fact, a language of your soul trying to guide you? If these words touched something within you, perhaps it's time to take another step on this path of rediscovering your inner truth. Subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to continue receiving content that nourishes the soul with presence and authenticity. Share in the comments what resonated with your heart. Your story might be the mirror someone needed to find. And, if you wish to continue in this vibration, watch the video we've linked in the card. It was chosen with care to continue this journey with you. Peace and light.